I know I shouldn't go on about all this conspiratorial stuff that I do, because it is a bit out there, and it is, again, me reading between the lines, me putting 2 and 2 together, and yes, maybe I am coming up with 5 more often than I come up with 4. I don't know, I can't say anything for sure, but I'm just giving my opinion based on what I see, trying to interpret the information around me, which is how we should all be living our lives, and we should not be letting others guide that interpretation so heavily as they do at the moment. But you know, that is going on, and it's really worrying. Like I say, I go on social media and speak a little bit of truth, and I'm closed down from about 4 or 5 different angles. There's like 4 or 5 different people, you know, or maybe it was only one person with 4 or 5 different avatars, with 4 or 5 different accounts, you know, who knows. But definitely there was, you know, there was some kind of process at work, you know, the techniques that they're using to kind of make my voice, you know, disappear into the crowd, including little simple things like just writing a long post and putting pictures up, because it makes the thread longer, and it makes what I've written disappear, you know. Little things like that, so people don't actually ever read that, they just read how the person responded, and it paints me in a certain light, you know. So it's like, kind of, you can't fight against it almost. This is, you know, again, another reason why I'm not making videos on a regular basis, aside from the fact that nobody watches them, but because it is almost pointless, because you know, this has been going on for such a long time. I've been watching, and again, this is why I wanted to use some kind of visual metaphor today, because I've been studying the film Metropolis over the past week. It's a 1927 German expressionist masterpiece, they say. It's a good film, yeah, it's got some great imagery, and it's got a great theme, and it's basically, you know, dealing with this division of society, and you know, the few controlling the many through slavery, basically, you know, through the workforce, you know, which is what's going on in the world every day, which is why everybody, as I say, are doing the things that I'm not doing, which is spending most of their week in a place that they don't want to be, because if everybody does that, then you know, the human race is never going to be free to develop in the way that it should, and that is a very real tactic on the part of the ruling classes. That is really happening all around you all the time, and if you know, are one of these people that spends most of the week in a place where you would rather not be, then it should be quite clear to you, really. You just need to stop and think about that. We all need money, we all got to pay the bills, but why is that, you know? How has the situation been engineered to get us into this point? So yeah, and this was in the 1927 film Metropolis, deals heavily with these themes, and it kind of goes to show that, you know, people have been aware of this since the beginning of time, really. I mean, 1927 is not that long ago, you know, but if you go back and you read ancient philosophy, like Socrates basically was saying all the same things that I'm saying all these years ago. And he was killed by the government, you know, sentenced to death for heresy, for corrupting the youth, you know. So it's really been like this forever, and it kind of goes to show that it's just a constant struggle, and people like me never ever really will be able to make a difference unless we all unite and do this at the same time. I mean, somebody's got to stand up and fucking call for the revolution, basically, and I know I should be doing that. I'm making this video, I should be out on the street every day trying to you know, trying to spread the word, but I'm also a little bit preoccupied with living modern life and enjoying the trappings of that. So yeah, I don't know, like, what's the point of even listening to me, right? Now you know that I'm a fan of David Icke, right, and I subscribe to some of his theories. Not 100%, you know, you've got to take them with a pinch of salt, but it's just an alternative viewpoint that is worth listening to, I think. And obviously I've offered some of my own theories that are comparably wacky, shall we say. Not quite up that level, but, you know, getting there. And one of his things, which is a good one, which I like, is, you know, obviously the reptiles. We all know about the reptiles, but he says that they live in the moon. The moon is hollow. It's like the Death Star, you know. It's like a space station floating around our planet, and that's where they control our minds from. It's a great theory. I really love to, you know, read about stuff like this. It's totally unbelievable. I mean, how can we possibly believe it? But as you know, I'm a person that acknowledges the fact that the reason we can't believe that is not because of physical or practical impossibility. It's because of our ideological viewpoint, you know, ideologies that we have been basically nurtured with, that make something like that sound incredibly bizarre and impossible. And you know, who am I to offer any evidence to the contrary? I simply can't do that, because it does sound bizarre and impossible. But it's interesting, and what's really interesting, if you want to look into that a little bit, is again on regarding physics of the moon, floating in that orbit, an object that large should not be able to orbit in Earth's gravitational field in the way that it does. It should be constantly getting pulled in towards the Earth, and ultimately it should be crashing into the Earth, unless it has some kind of powered propulsion of its own, if you know what I mean. I can't explain it very well, but there are scientists that can and have. So that's something to look into and draw your own conclusions. And this is a point that I wanted to make really in this video, that, you know, if I say some really wild out there things, well, to me what you're seeing in the media, you know, the behaviour of the likes of ISIS and that, school shootings, I've been reading a lot about, watching videos about this Sandy Hook recently. That's really interesting. I might talk about that another day. I'm not sure if I really want to go there, because it is getting very disrespectful. If those kids did actually exist and were murdered, and to talk about them, you know, to like poo-poo the notion that it happened, is like really getting really disrespectful, you know. And that's a trick that they play on us, you know. You can't talk about things because it's disrespectful to the dead. I think I said this before about 9/11. It's one of the massive tactics that they use in opposition to the 9/11 truth movement, is that it disrespects the memory of the people that died. Well, I think, you know, the government murdering all those people is the most disrespectful thing, and we should talk about that. Watch my video, Happy Anniversary. I uploaded it on September 11th last year. It's called Happy Anniversary. Watch that video. I think it sums up the reason why I don't believe 9/11, you know, I don't believe we've been told the truth about that. I think it sums it up very, very well. So I advise you to watch that video, Happy Anniversary. But yeah, Sandy Hook, there's almost as much evidence actually in some respects, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube. I'm not going to go into it now because I could be wrong, and then I'm really am being disrespectful to talk about it. So I'm just not going to go there at this time. I've kind of have just gone there, haven't I? But anyway, yeah, so I've been looking at all this, and so we've got these kind of, you know, unbelievable theories about this and that, and the things that I talk about probably come across to you as unbelievable a lot of the time, but like I say, what is in the media most of the time comes across as unbelievable to me, and to a lot more people than you would realise, because of course the media doesn't show how widely like these theories are shared. You won't find that in the media. You know, and I come back to things I've said before. This is why they're really looking to close the internet down, you know, and they're doing it under the pretext of like protection against terrorists and paedophiles, and like, you know, it's again subterfuge. Like, they want to close the internet down because people can share information freely in a way that they have never been able to do before, and that is really something they didn't count on when they allowed this thing to go public, this invention to become so widespread. So yes, and as I say, they've got all kinds of new teams that are on there to kind of police this and try and maintain it and control a popular opinion, which is what I was talking about in the last video. But anyway, I digress as usual. Basically, what I've got to do at some point, I've got to make my feelings about my relationship with God explicit, because I've alluded to it a lot in these videos, and you know, I've even said in today's first video that I feel that I've you know, been guided by God to do certain things, and like write a book was one thing. You know, the things that kept happening in my life that were just leading me down this path, and this introducing me to new topics and giving me new evidence to support these topics. It was just an incredible time in my life, and it was suddenly I felt like I was, you know, in commune with God, really. And I've never believed in God in my life, you know, and I'm not sure if I believe in God now. But I believe in something, and I think I've made that opaque in my previous videos, you know. I wish I could say I've made it clear, but I never do I? 10 minutes again, have I made a point yet? You be the judge. Now, I'm going to make the point. I've got 5 minutes to do it. I'm going to make the point. I think that when you allow yourself, when you open yourself to the fact that things are happening around you, maybe for a reason, maybe not entirely randomly, because nothing can be entirely random, because it is all a product of necessity. You know, the whole evolutionary process is got, you know, things that couldn't survive adapted into ways that could survive, and then they got better in certain ways, and they changed in certain ways, and from little amoeba in the sea you've got to us. You know, little specks of nothing in the water have become us, and you can't say that is random. That is a process of trial and error. That is the creation finding the best way to exist. And so, you know, that is my definition of God, really, is the entire creation, the entire universe, and it includes all of us, and it includes all these trees around me, and it includes the birds in the trees, and it includes the worms in the ground that they eat, and it just includes everything. And finding a connection with that, you know, as a human being that speaks the English language, when I find that connection, I interpret it in the English language. And, you know, when people like me do things like that, it's almost as though someone said something in our head, or we've heard it on the television or in a song, which, you know, is a lot of what happens with me, because that's what I love. I love music, you know, and I'm using something I love as like a portal into the into the universe. It's like I've found a language that I understand to describe things. But as Douglas Adams once wrote, if you could speak its language, you could probably get the truth from a chair leg. You know, I don't think that there is a person, a man in the sky that speaks English, but because I'm a man that speaks English, this is how I perceive communication with the universe. And you know, when you kind of open yourself up to that, you start seeing it everywhere. And this is what's happened to me, and I believe what happened to people like Jesus and Muhammad and, you know, Buddha and all other kinds of people. And I can't put myself in the boat with them. I mean, maybe they were the same as me. Maybe they were equally flawed. Maybe they were equally confused and, you know, misguided. But, you know, people listened to what they said, and they got a name off the back of it. And, you know, I kind of have always felt that that was something that was going to happen in my life. I've really always felt it since I was young, and that's why I kind of say these things in these videos that maybe will be construed by you as massive delusions of grandeur, and they're not. They're just honesty. They're just a man understanding the world in a way that we all should understand the world, and we all can understand the world if we can just throw away the bullshit. And we got not much choice, really, because it's just every day we're getting the bullshit in our ears off the newspapers and off the television, you know, and we're clouding it with the drugs and the sex and the food and the ambition. You know, it's you know, it's not a bad thing to have ambition, but what does it really mean? What does it achieve? You know, what does it matter what material possessions you accumulate? You know, what result is there from that? So I hope you can interpret the truth from what I'm saying. I wish you luck with that. Peace be upon you all. God bless you. Take it easy. Be excellent to each other. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Right, it's about 11 o'clock now. Can I get home back into my underpants in time to watch Jeremy Kyle? Wish me luck.